Yeah. Fucking beat out this unit, bro. Fuck you, dude. How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man. I hope all is well. I'm gonna go over my favorite character, my main character in this game, the support Evil Dead 1 Ash, or OG Ash. Nothing beats the original. I'm gonna go over unprestiged skill trees and going to prestige 5 skill trees, because most people will not start off with 30 points. So let's reset the skills. Evil Dead 1 Ash is actually one of the characters that has quite an interesting skill cap, I will admit. Evil Dead 1 Ash is basically a character that you're going to have to learn how to hit headshots with multiple weapons. Not only that, but you have to know when to shemps, when not to shemps, when to let your abilities take over. And his performance varies because it doesn't just rely on his own skill. It relies on the skills of the hunter and the leader, or the warrior, to really take advantage of his full kit as well. So it's a very interesting character here. So let's go over Reassuring Presence and his other perks. So his active is actually going to be a Defear. As soon as the wave happens, they don't have to stand there while you do the whole handy wave thing. All they have to do is come in, you do the wave, you're done. Your Defear also works on yourself, which is becomes pretty clutch when you are doing objectives alone. If something happens, stops you from getting possessed, or helps prevent you from getting possessed and ran out the objective. Alternative healing would be the word here. So 25% of your damage is restored as health, of your heavy damage, or 20% if you are not prestiged up. For this reason, typically on all the builds we have here, we are going to go max Devastating Force at the very least, to give us some more damage. More damage equals more heal. More damage per time. I'm going to go over that later. Mark target damage and mark target healing. Those are two perks that activate simultaneously. So mark target is basically when you hit a headshot on something, green shit will come out their eyes. When this green shit comes out their eyes, any follow-up shot for the next 5 seconds will heal the shooter, and it will do increased damage. So it'll do 20% more damage, and you'll heal 10% of the damage that is done, or the shooter would. You can refresh the timer for each headshot, so you can have the buff last as long as the unit is alive. Because if you keep getting shots within a 5-second span, the buff will never go away until the unit is dead or depossessed. So unlike Blacksmith here, my boy, he has no range to this buff. The limiting range to mark target is the range of Evil Dead 1 Ash's gun. So if he has a short range gun, his buff will be relatively short range. But the interesting thing about it is that he can buff the shots of those who are way behind him, 20 meters, 30 meters, if they have the gun to the follow-up shot. That's why I love this guy, and I do prefer his buff over the Blacksmith's buff. The Blacksmith has to use an amulet, and those within range of the amulet gets the buff only. This guy can shoot from down the block, and somebody from the other block can get a bonus just because they shot whoever you shot. So the range is pretty ridiculous on this buff, because it doesn't target your teammate per se, it targets the unit. So that is something interesting to keep in mind. When it comes to Evil Dead 1 Ash, we're going to go full Shemps Plus, so you get the full heal off of Shemps. We will go this route. This is one of the routes that I take. The reason why I take this route is because hollow points combined with marked target damage allows you to fend off possessed units by yourself if you have to in a pinch. Supports do 80% of a melee weapon's value and 80% of a ranged weapon's value. So he compensates a bit for his debuff with marked target damage, and then he follows through with hollow points. Of course, because if you are doing melee, we're going to be taking some hits. We want to increase that health a bit. Packing Pop, you don't have to run 2 into Packing Pop, but you can. There might be some aggressive units or some RNG, and I'd rather not leave things to RNG as much as possible. So that's why I run Packing Pop. Deep Pocket, so you have the 6 cola holds. Not aim as well, but Packing Pop, yep. So we're going to go into another build here. Some people can, if they're not fancy with the headshots, that is totally fine. Some people also, once again, go balance bar to get things done a little bit easier. We can go with this. This is still 25 points. It's max last word. So the last hit of your combo will get a 50% damage increase. And as I said before, you will heal not just yourself, but the team that's close by you 20% of the damage that you do. So with that last word hitting a bit harder, then that's a little bit more heals. Evil Dead 1 Ash, his main thing is a drip heal over time, and you can do a lot of heal with that. So learning which way to go, when to melee, when not to melee, is something that cannot be taught. I cannot teach you these things. These are things that you're just going to have to learn yourself. And typically you can go that build. You can also go out of this kind of middle area here if you want. If you want an interesting build here, you can go out of here and then kind of go into that if you want, and then put 2 just for a little bit of health. You can also go this route as well. You're losing out on some damage, of course, but some people like taking fast forward on their supports. So you can always take a little bit out of health. Or what you can do as well is take 1 out of Packing Pop if you want, put a little bit more into health. It's really up to you. This guy can do almost anything. There's almost no wrong way to build this guy, but I do prefer having extra health, because if you are meleeing, you are going to have the damage exchange. You will be receiving damage, or at risk of receiving damage while you are healing, while you are meleeing. So I typically will go about that way. When it comes to the other prestiges, you can of course trickle in as needed. So let's say we go damage, because, you know, we love damage here. So when you are prestiged up, you can put maybe a 1 into last word as you go about, right? That'll be 26 points. You can also say go dual gun damage if you want. Go max Wig Splitter, and if you are on target with your headshots with Wig Splitter and hollow points and marked target damage, you will be able to do quite well against possessed units. Whether it be even with the basic bitch revolver, you can handle yourself quite well if you are on point with that. And of course, you will eventually get another skill tree as well. And if you want, you can put that extra point into Seeing Stars as you gain that extra skill tree point to your prestige. And of course, you can customize it and have some go into this middle area as well. In that variant, from the level 25, you can also put the 2 points into Heart. Because the other variant we were missing 2, so you can put 2 back into industrial strength if you want. And you will eventually get the 3rd value, which you can put into Seeing Stars if you want, or you can move it around. So with the 3rd point that you get, you can say, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go, you can put 2 in there with your 3rd point. Yeah, with your 3rd point, yep. You can go all into Last Word now, so you'll have Last Word and Hollow Points filled out if you take that route. Your 4th point, of course, you can go into Balance Bar, you can go into Wig Splitter, all up to you. And then your 5th point, of course, this is my P5 build, is full Wig Splitter. My P5 build is full Wig Splitter, full Last Word, this full damage. Both of those damage perks are full. Because with Evil Dead 1 Ash, you want to make sure that you also have utility on the book. Damage is very important on the book, and being a support that can damage is pretty nice. And no other support can actually come up to his single target damage, just because even though the Blacksmith has a couple of more damage perks, including attack speed, he can generally have decent DPS. Guns have range. So the time that Blacksmith takes to run his fat ass over there and start swinging, I'm already damaging something. And because it's ranged, it's relatively safe, I'm not exchanging damage if I'm further back. So that also leads to a bit more sustain. And I can damage from any distance as well. So that leads to some very interesting scenarios. So that's pretty much how I'd run my boy Ash. Some good weapons would be the staff. The staff is actually a little bit weaker than the improvised spear, but the staff actually has quite a bit of balance bar. So when you are attacking, you will actually have a pretty high chance of balance bar breaking, and then they will be stunned, allowing you or your team to get free extra hits on something that cannot hit you back, which is also good, has a pretty good return, because then you get an extra attack or 2 while they cannot hit you back for that extra heal. So balance bar is something that should always be factored in to these weapons. Typically 3 or 5 speed weapons are good. 1 speed weapon would be Lumberjack Axe, because it has that armor and that tracking on it. Because you want to get heavy attacks off, so you should prioritize weapons that will allow you to get heavy attacks off without being interrupted. And typically those will be 3 speed weapons, 5 speed weapons, and the Lumberjack Axe. The knife is actually not bad. So if you are facing an Elagos, higher tier knives, higher tier Lumberjack Axes, and higher tier stabs will be your go-to. Because you can actually be able to get scrappy with units with those weapons. You can actually handle the exchange if they ever try to target you. Learning how to dodge and attack, or dodge cancel, do all that. Those are things that I cannot tell you how to do. That takes game sense. And with enough game sense, you guys will be able to navigate that yourselves. And I wish you guys the best of luck with Evil Dead 1 Ash. I typically go handgun. If I'm going to go with a gun, I go revolver. I don't go pistol, because the pistol, yeah, it is easier to mark the target, but the damage that you get just for expending a lot of ammo might not be worth it. So the lever action or the revolver is going to be a bit much. And let me show you guys my sensitivity, because my sensitivity is adjusted. So if I go to settings, my third person and aim sense are at 1.45. I still have to get used to some of the stuff going up, but I constantly adjust my aim sensitivity. That way you'll see in some of my videos I get like 135, 137 headshots, 185. because it is very important to get headshots with this character. It is half his kit. Half his kit does require you to get headshots. But the more important thing is your headshot rate, the rate of headshots that you get, not the amount per se, and do you get it when you need it? Like, are you able to get headshots when the boss comes up, when the possessed unit comes up? Are you able to get headshots on those, in those instances? Because getting a headshot on, let's say, a bunch of AI is not good or bad. It just is not, his power is not necessarily needed. His buff isn't really needed on AI. His buff is needed for the player-controlled units. If you get the buff on AI, it's good for him to take out like surrounding elites for Evil Ash or She-Bitch or whatever. But as I said, his buff is mostly needed on player-controlled units. So how frequently can you get headshots on player-controlled units? That will be the dividing line between higher tier Evil Dead 1 Ash players and those who are learning. That is the true learning scale, is dodge cancel and headshots on player controlled units. Knowing how to dodge cancel, knowing how to box units 1v1, not always winning, but knowing how to box and hold your own. Know when to light attack to add balance bar, when to heavy, how to dodge cancel for that sweet last word bonus. It's super crazy. The scaling that is required to play this character, and it is a labor of love for my boy. So you guys be safe, stay hydrated, and of course, have a good one.
Delta, tuned up and gassed. Check. Suitcases, TV, football, and blankets in the trunk. Check. Map to the cabin? Check. Worthless magnifying glass necklace, boxed up like actual jewelry and in my pocket? Check. Linda's gonna love it. She'll never take it off.